Happy Halloween! Ha 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 ooh, ha ha ha. It's actually not Halloween yet. It is October 30th, 2021. We still have another day to go. The reason today is significant, personally, is my father. So I'd like to give a major shout out to John Billings. He tragically passed away October 30th, 2007. And we are, like, living on in his memory today. So this is a picture of him and I back in summer of '92, I want to say, back when he had a company van. Some interesting history here. He worked for GTE. My grandfather also worked for GTE. So technically I am a third generation worker in telecommunications. So a lot of my upbringing was that had a lot to do with where I'm at today. So some interesting facts about GTE. They were one of the largest phone companies in the United States up until the early 90s. Between the 1920s and the last decade, they were a subsidiary of Bell Atlantic. My dad worked for GTE North, which was acquired by Frontier in the late 90s. And, he was the phone guy. And most of you probably remember, well, I shouldn't say that. For those of you that are from Andover that I went to school with, most of you probably remember going downtown to the CO, which was where my dad worked, and he'd take us a tour in the building and show us all this equipment that we had no idea what it did. We all knew that was the phone that made the phones work. So within a matter of a few years, as technology progressed, that technology became obsolete and was replaced with modernized equipment that could facilitate the change and the upgrades in technology. So now the company's called Frontier, and he actually did work for Frontier for 35 years. He stayed with the company. So thank you, Dad, for everything that you did. I love you. We miss you dearly, and I'm sure you're smiling down upon us. So enough. It's getting a little emotional in here, so let's get to basics. So today we will talk about Office 365. Now, I know I've done a number of videos on Office 365. It is SaaS. SaaS stands for Software as a Service. So if you are running a business and you need to provide the communicational components to facilitate collaboration, you would want to use Office 365 or G Suite, which is Google. Those are two of the primary SaaS platforms in the game right now. There's another one out there too. I can't remember what it's called, but Google, Microsoft, they're kind of one in one. So Microsoft is definitely the queen, to be politically correct. It is the queen of cloud computing. They are kind of up there on top in terms of providing infrastructure, platforms, and software as a service. With the Office 365, it is very powerful. It is really kind of gives the ability to provide a remote workforce. For those of you that has used it, if you like it, don't like it, please feel free to add comments. I don't even know if people can add comments yet to my videos. Probably not. I'm just kind of like making them and throwing them up there. I'm not really doing a lot of editing yet, although I will be doing that in the very near future. So here we have an Office 365 tenant I set up, and I really haven't played with it very much. I did for the first couple of days. It's about ready to expire, so I figured I would do a quick demonstration on it. So this is not synchronized with Active Directory. So I didn't connect it to a on-prem domain controller or a forest yet. I probably won't for this lab or demonstration. I mean, I might, but right now this is strictly a tenant setup in the cloud. And for those of you that don't know what the cloud means, just a fancy term for internet, you're renting hardware. So somebody else is maintaining the data centers, so you don't have to manage the infrastructure yourself. So if you want to do that, you would build an Exchange server on-prem like 2019 or something, and you would manage that. The only downside to that is you would have one additional server on your network to manage. And with all the recent exploits and vulnerabilities in regards to Exchange, on-prem Exchange servers, Microsoft, FBI, and pretty much all of the leading tech communities are recommending migrating to Office 365 if you haven't already. So it's a very awesome platform. Let's dive in. So here we have Azure Active Directory. It is a fake company called Cloud Rocks Incorporated. That's just something I came up with. The domain listed on this is kind of silly. It's called Tyler's Lab Environment. I thought I did Tyler's Lab Environment, but I don't think that domain was available. So I went with Tyler Lab Environment. ENV is short for environment, because why would I want to spell out environment? I'm all about abbreviation and making things simple. So how do we create a new user? All right, so here's a bunch of users that I created. What we want to do is create, like, let's say we have to create a new user, which is going to, somebody's joining our company, and we need to create him a user account, him or her a user account. And they're going to need the ability to work remotely. They're going to be doing a lot of traveling worldwide. They will need a laptop where they can constantly have access to email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams for collaboration and virtual meetings. You name it, they're going to need it for everything. So how do we manage our devices? Well, there's this awesome thing now called Microsoft Intune. And just to show you what that looks like, if you are managing an Office 365 tenant, I'm sure most of you are probably already using Intune, but if you're not, Intune is down here, your Endpoint Manager. And if you have not set that up yet, it's fairly simple. All you have to do is go to Azure Active Directory, Mobility, MDM, and MAM, and you will want to enable both options. Pretty simple. And when I build a new tenant for a testing lab environment, we will do that together. The mirror is my face like extra glary. You know, I had the light on, but that was even worse. So the worst case scenario, my face looks like bright and shiny, because I am. You know, what kind of stuff is good? Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, so this is what Intune looks like after you set that up. Now, there is a lot of steps you have to take in order to successfully set up devices for auto enrollment, autopilot, provisioning, and configuring the company portal on all platforms. You can enroll Android, Mac OS, iPad, iOS, such as an iPhone. You can enroll Windows devices. Just about anything. I don't know if you can do Chromebooks yet. That is something I think I tried playing around with at some point, and it kind of gave. The good thing about Chromebooks is you can enroll them in the Google management in the G Suite and set them up that way. And then if they need to access Office 365, they just go to the browser and log it in. So that part's pretty simple. Anywho, so this is what Intune looks like. So if we look at our Windows devices right now, because this lab will be primarily focused on Windows enrollment, I'm not going to worry about the others. They're non-compliant because they're VMs that have been turned off. So I'm not going to really worry about that. And yeah, the time's obviously incorrect on that. So I'm going to minimize that. Now, let's say we create the new user and they're rocking and rolling with their device, having a good time, and then their laptop is lost, stolen, compromised, or disposed of coincidentally. Oh no, what do we do? They have corporate data on there. What if they have intellectual property that has the blueprints for fixing global warming or clean energy or curing the coronavirus, anything like that. Well, we want to make sure, for one, is the device backed up, and two, could we go in there and lock or wipe that device in the event it has fallen into the wrong hands? Yes, we can. We have those options, even if the device is not fully compliant. And what compliant means is the device is compliant, therefore it is allowed to access company resources that's hosted in the Office 365 platform. So it can use email, it can use Word, Excel, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams. It can use all those tools because their user account is licensed through the Office 365 tenant. And we'll demonstrate when we set up a user account. So here we are. Let's go back to Azure Active Directory. Let's go to users. And let's create a new user. And we're just going to call this one Jane Doe. And the user account, we're going to auto-generate user account, and I'm going to show the password because I really don't care if anyone wants to hack this account because I'm going to delete it once I'm done anyways. So that's just auto-generate. So I'm going to save that to my clipboard. The user groups for this specific purpose is going to be cloud configured PCs because I want to enroll that device. And I'm going to add her to that group. Now, keep in mind, if there's email distribution groups or Teams groups, or hopefully it's an Office 365 unified group, so it's a all-in-one Teams, email, SharePoint, etc. in just one group, depending on how you set them up. The role is a user, nothing fancy. The usage location is United States. And the job role is, let's call her an IT administrator. Why not? And that's her boss is actually going to be Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump was promoted. Forrest Gump. Major shout out to J. Rod Billings, my brother. He can do the best Forrest Gump impersonations. So we got to put that on YouTube one of these days. So I think we have everything all set. We have we selected create user, Jane Doe. That is the password. We added to the group. We selected the job title, department. Now I could leave this empty for now, and then when I get that information from HR or the marketing department, then I can input that, but we do have it, so we're going to click create. And it's going to take oh, maybe not. Wow, that was quick. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. So now we have Jane Doe. So we're done, right? No, we're not. So we have to assign a license. A license will provision a mailbox and set up an account so they can log in and use the Office 365 apps such as Word, Excel, SharePoint, and Teams. So let's go to licenses. And I have like 3 licenses that I was allowed to set up for evaluation. I've used all of them extensively. So they're for this demonstration, it's going to be Office 365 E3. All we need is a mailbox, but we also want to. We're going to leave it default for now. So that will include the Exchange Online Plan 2, I believe. Yes, right there. Very good. The Office 365 apps for Enterprise. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Let's see. Right here. Very good. So those are the desktop apps that we all love. Microsoft Teams and Azure Rights Management right there. Very good. So that will cover email encryption and identity protection. Very good. So we're going to save. And now their license is assigned. So it's going to take a few minutes for that mailbox to be created while it's being provisioned. So if we look for Jane Doe, there she is. Hello, Jane. How are you? So if we go to mail, and we are preparing a mailbox for this user. All right. And it usually doesn't take that long. Licensing is a whole nother video. We'll do that some other time because that's to be, yeah. So we're almost ready to rock and roll with Jane. Jane will need access to OneDrive. And as you can see, that might take a little bit longer. So when we enroll Jane's device, or let's say we want to ship it directly to Jane out of the box, and she opens it up, and all she has to do is log into it, and that will automatically enroll it in Microsoft Intune. So that is the biggest advantage with remote workers and using Intune to leverage your device management, because you can, like, you typically would have to order laptops and devices. They would come to the office, and the IT department would re-image the devices with hopefully a customized image with the required drivers, and install the company applications, antivirus software, configure the firewall, VPN clients, applying group policies, joining it to the domain, then applying the policies, rebooting it. I mean, there's a number of steps involved. So what Intune does is automate that process a little bit. Well, I should say a lot. Because now when they get that device, it's going to ask them to sign in with a Microsoft account. So all she has to do is sign in with her email that we just set up, and it will prompt her to set up multi-factor authentication. So she's going to have to download the Authenticator app, where she can use a SMS or a text message, or SMS text message to authenticate, so we know that it's actually her that's logging into that account. So there's a number of advantages with using Intune. So very, very good. Now it's set up. Let's say we want to control what kind of protocols and apps that she has access to. There's mobile Exchange Active Sync. So if she wants to set up email on her mobile device, we will want to leave that checked. So the one last step we want to do is we want to assign Jane Enterprise Mobility and Security License. So that is this one right here. And this is the only one that I could set up for EMS evaluation. I couldn't do the E3, which would be more than enough to demonstrate the purpose and intent of EMS. I had to go with an E5, which is kind of, well, it's one of the best out there in terms of security. E3 has some less features, but it works fine with the Enterprise Mobility and Security E3 works fine. So if you have that, you're good. But the E5 actually does include the Azure Protection Premium P2, and that will cover privileged access management, alerts, notifications to the tenant administrators. They will also get a weekly reports or immediate notification if their account is compromised. Let's say if they travel and they're logging in from a different location, a geographical location, that will detect as a risky login. It will help keep your data safe. And in today's world, there is no such thing as safe enough. But you can be proactive in, protecting your corporate data at all costs. And the licensing is one of the best ways to do that. So here we have the E5. That also includes Intune, multi-factor authentication, Cloud App Security, and Microsoft Defender for identity. We're also going to assign her the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and we'll show what that is probably in the next video. I'm not going to waste too much time going over that right now, but we're going to assign that license. Very good. So Jane Doe is all set up. So now if we go to look at her account again, we will see license and apps. Very good. Okay, so let's sign in as Jane Doe. So I have a virtual environment set up here, kind of just for testing purposes. I'm doing some other things too, but we can use this. Now I was testing this account for this purpose the other day, so thank you, Bruce Wayne, but we won't need to use your account right now. So J Doe at tylerlabnv.com. And is it going to let me paste it in there? Of course not. Whatever. So what I'm going to do is I can open up Notepad real quick and copy pile that in there. And now I'm just going to be able to enter that in. And it's probably going to ask me to change it. I hope it does. So I typed in something wrong. jdoe at tylerlabnv.com. NOYA7117, right? All right, very good. We're in. So hopefully we'll ask me to change the password. Maybe, maybe not. But what we'll do is set up multi-factor authentication, so this user will be required to authenticate when she logs in. And that will better protect her account from being compromised. And for anyone using, whether it's G Suite or Office 365, because it's accessible anywhere in the world to provide that mobility and functionality, it does come with a lot of risks. Just like anything, there are pros and cons. And the best way to debunk the negative aspects of this is to set up to MFA. I mean, it's really that simple. If your password is compromised, they're not going to be able to log in because it'll send you a pin saying, hey, someone's logging in. Well, if you're sitting on the couch or eating dinner or playing with your children and you get that alert on your phone saying, login, do you allow or approve? That's odd. I'm not at my computer right now. Why is it doing that? And what it will also do, if you have the P2 license assigned and the E5 license, that will also alert the tenant administrators of a possible or suspicious compromised account login. So that is the advantage of that. So Windows hello with your account to access work at school, blah, 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 blah. If your organization requires a complex PIN, Windows will prompt you to change it. Okay. So let's see what happens here. Okay, and we're going to bring this up again. Very good. Help us protect your account. So here we go. And here's the Microsoft Authenticator app. So what Jane would do is download the Authenticator app. If she has Android, just go to the Play Store, download Authenticator app. If it's an iPhone, you want to go to the App Store. So next. And once they get the app installed, they would open up the app on the phone, and there would be a plus sign in the upper right hand corner, regardless of what platform. And you would click plus, add work and school account. And then once they, you know what, let me see if I can demonstrate here real quick. I don't want to buy a license yet. It is too connected to the internet. Maybe not. Oh. Okay, so we would want to select add work and school account and then scan QR code. And I'm going to take a picture of this QR code. Oh. And I will see Cloud Rocks Incorporated with J. Doe signed in. So let's see what it looks like on the phone. There we go. So we would then want to go back to our Windows 10 device and click Next. And we should get a pop-up alert that says Approve. And it succeeded. So that is how you set up multi-factor authentication. Then we would click Next, and Microsoft Authenticator was successfully registered. Click Done. And now it's going to ask us to change the password. Very good. That's what we wanted to do. The Office 365 uses pass-through hash authentication. Well, depending on how you have your Azure AD Connect set up. The password complexity for Office 365, it is very complex, which is good. If you have, depending on what kind of group policies you have set up. See? Perfect example. Awesome. So that is what we want to see. Choose something that is hard to guess. So this is what we're going to do. All right, we're going to make it hard to guess. All right, so I am going to generate secure password using LastPass. And I'm going to copy paste that. Yep, everybody can see it, I know. And I'm actually not going to use that specific password. I'm just going to make it something a little more complicated. I just wanted to demonstrate what an actual secure password looked like. And we're almost done. The device is currently being enrolled as well as setting up Jane's account. So if we go to the Endpoint Manager, and we're going to have to probably refresh a couple times. Or just refresh the browser in general. You might actually have to be signed in before it starts. Oops, we don't want that yet. Now it's going to ask us for a PIN. So you see the level of security that it's being prompted. Now, I don't care what line of work you're in, whether you're a school teacher or government official, nonprofit, banking, financial industry, medical, regardless of its intellectual property, classified data, HIPAA, you need to do as much security as possible to protect your digital identity, your personal and your professional identities.